Welcome to an early evening edition of the SprintCarLimited.com daily on our YouTube page. Normally we do these in the morning and at lunchtime. Didn't happen today. We're working on Facebook stuff for SprintCarLimited.tv. Head over to our Facebook page. Check us out. Like us. We'll have a lot of information upcoming on our pay-per-view events and also at SprintCarLimited.com Facebook page, which we kind of highlight some of the stories we have on the website. We're going to jump in today and talk about, or I should say tonight really, and talk about three drivers to watch this weekend. And at the top of the list is Lucas Wolfe. In the offseason, Wolfe hooked up with car owner Mark Coldren, and the team plans to debut this weekend, first at Port Royal on Saturday before moving on to Sunday's Williams Grove Speedway opener. Last year was awful for Lucas. I talked to Lucas today for a story on the website, which will be out tomorrow. And he had 70-plus races in with Michael Barshner last year and had 8 top 5 finishes. It wasn't good. Obviously, there were a lot of rumblings. But I think if you look deeper into some of Lucas's struggles, a lot of them were special shows. Because of COVID, didn't have a lot of time trial events, or I should say, let me rephrase that. We had a lot of time trial events. We didn't have a lot of handicap shows per se. And one of the areas they were struggling was in time trials. So that kind of buried him at night. And then after that, you're buried in a time trial show, all the fast guys up front, you're not going to perform well. That being said, Lucas admits that he needs to do better this year. And this team is going to be looking to gel early this weekend, next weekend, and all the Central Pennsylvania shows in March before heading out to compete with the All-Star Circuit of Champions full-time in 2021. I do not think Lucas Wolfe is done. I don't think he's fully recovered from the incident at Lebanon Valley a couple years ago, which he had broken back again. He feels good. He's healthy. I just think needs to get in a situation. He has his old crew chief back. So I think this team is going to do better in 2021. And I think it starts this weekend. And I think you'll see some chemistry built. And I could see them winning a couple races this year and maybe making a little bit of noise with the All-Star Circuit of Champions, even though Lucas has never competed with the All-Stars before. And at 34, he has not been on the road with a traveling series since 2012. So it's been about 8-9 years. So I think a couple wins on the road and maybe a win back here would be good for Lucas. But it's be interesting to see how he performs this weekend. Another guy you want to take a look at is Danny Dietrich. People seem to they panic a little if Danny doesn't win a couple weekends. Look, he was good in Florida. The 2 shows at Lincoln were draw shows on a narrow track. And I don't know what you expect. When you start 8th in a heat, 7th, 8th in a heat, you're buried. You're not going to pass cars in 8 to 10 laps in a heat race. And, of course, it's a draw show. So where he finished in his heat is where he starts in the future. So he finishes 5th. The week 1, he didn't even make the A-main. They didn't have a consi. And he started in the basement. He started 15th last week, but he charged up to 6th. Track widened out a little bit, a lane or two. Dietrich was able to do some damage. I expect the same thing this week. In fact, I expect Dietrich to win this weekend. He's going to be at Lincoln Speedway on Saturday. I'm going to call my shot and say he wins at Lincoln Saturday. And don't be surprised if he comes back Sunday. It's got to draw better at some point, you'd think. Maybe he needs to go to the casino, something kind of to shake the bad luck. But I think he'll draw well this weekend, and I think he'll win at least one show. I'm saying Lincoln Speedway. And then on Sunday, I think he'll be in the hunt at Williams Grove. Another guy is Tim Shaffer. We talked a little bit about Schafer yesterday and how big that win was last week at Lincoln. It's not so much the win itself. It's how far this team's progressed since Florida. They had motor trouble. I talked to Heath Moyle last night a little bit. They really struggled with the motor situation down in Florida. They got that rectified. They come into Lincoln last week, started 3rd, fell back to 4th. They were obviously up front. And Schafer was the most accomplished driver at the front of the field. He's a Sprint Car Hall of Famer, for crying out loud. It's not – he's there's a lot of street cred there. So uh, I expected Schafer to win that race, but what impressed me about Schafer was his ability to maneuver in the corners. He had maneuverability. The engines were good. He was able to pass three cars on the way to the, or yeah, three cars on the way to the win. And I think he's going to be, I think he could be tough again this weekend. So how this progresses, does he get 10 wins? I had somebody text me today about 10 wins. And I said, are they 4 10 wins, or are you counting 360s as well? 4 10 wins, 10's going to be tough because I still think Danny Dietrich is going to win plenty of races here. I'm not worried about that at all. I think Freddie Raymer's going to win races. He's kind of been in the same situation as Danny has and has just drawn poorly in these first two events. And I just think, depending on weather, Schaefer's going to travel a little. 10 wins seems like that's going to be difficult. Not saying he can't, saying it's going to be difficult. I think he gets to like 7 or 8 if he stays with the team the whole year, which I expect him to. It seems like he's happy. Everything's in place. I like the mentality of this team. They have fun together. Showed some speed last week, maneuverability. They're headed in the right direction. So it'll be interesting to see what they do this week because they're going to be at Lincoln as well, and obviously the Grove. It'll be interesting to see how he backs up that win from last week. So that's going to wrap up this edition of the SprintCarUnlimited.com Daily. We'll be back tomorrow with another episode free on our YouTube page. Stay tuned.